Hey there, friend. Welcome to the Having a Mom Moment podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Warner. This podcast is all about taking a few moments for yourself and reconnecting to the amazing woman behind the title of mom. You have so many plates spinning at any given time between your kids, your partner, your job, maintaining a household, etc., etc. But where does taking time just for you play into that? Let's spend some time together, you and me, right now. We're going to connect, tune in, and tap into what makes us the incredible woman that we are. We'll nurture ourselves so that we can pour into those who can count on us. We'll also hear from other moms to learn about the ways in which they've tapped into alignment in their own motherhood journeys. Let's roll. We're having a mom moment. Hello, friends. I'm so happy to have another guest episode for you today. This week, we're chatting with my other friend, Mary. Yes, I have not one, but two amazing Marys in my life. Mary and I met at work 8 years ago. We hit it off immediately and are, in my opinion, totally kindred spirits. We just get each other, and having her as a coworker has been such a gift. She's totally a bright, shining light to help you get through those rough days at work. Besides working together, a lot has happened for us over the last 8 years personally, and it has been fun to be a part of each other's lives, from home purchases, your wedding, and you cheering me on through motherhood and through this whole having a mom moment endeavor. I'm thrilled that Mary will officially be joining the motherhood ranks here very soon as she welcomes her first baby in just a few short weeks. Welcome, Mary. I'm so excited to have you on the show with us today.
Oh my God, what a beautiful intro. That was just stunning. I'm so happy to be here. And it's just so much fun. Yeah, we've had many years of talking about dreams and goals, and it's just so cool to see it all coming to life for us. So, with family stuff and just with like side project stuff. So
I know it's been
we've
a
been
lot.
each other's cheerleaders for years and years and years.
I know. I was thinking back, like, how long has it actually been? And I did the math. I'm like, oh yeah, it has been a minute for sure. So a lot has happened.
A long time.
It's been good. And it's so great when you find someone at work where you're like, wait a minute, I think we're on the same wavelength here, and then you like a genuine friendship forms, and it's so nice.
I know. It's been, 8 years you said?
I think 8 years. I think it was 2015, right?
I was 23.
Oh my gosh.
I'm 30. I'll be 31.
Just a baby.
I know. It's just crazy.
I remember that one time we went to go get coffee together. You wanted to pick my brain on something, and I was like, yeah, coffee sounds great. And I was like 16 minutes pregnant and like trying to cut my caffeine intake.
Oh my God. That's so cute. I don't for that because I have the worst memory ever. Was it like earlier on? Was it like 2015, 2016 or something?
2016. It was a long time ago. Like, how has it been
real?
Long? I know. Yeah. So I think it's fun to think, because we were both transplants to Asheville, and like the fact that we ended up at the same place, I don't think it's a coincidence, especially like my background was not in that at all. Like, it was a little bit more, the path made more sense for you, but really, I don't think it's a coincidence that we ended up there together.
No, definitely not. It's just, and the fact that you ended up moving back to Michigan too. It's like, what, 3 years ago? So it's
two,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's bizarre how I don't know, you kind of intertwine with people at different seasons in your life, and then just connect and like inspire and everything. And that's obviously been our story. So,
I would say thank God for the work messaging channels where we can be like, hey, I'm listening to this amazing podcast. Like, you should listen to this episode. And hey, I know motivation over here.
Yeah. I know, we were always like full on with the podcast. So it's like full circle.
It is really full circle.
We loved all of our favorite inspirational podcasts, because there's not a ton, it's like you have certain friends that you can talk to about stuff like that, and certain friends that probably would like, they'd be like, yeah, I don't want to listen to that or whatever. And we were always like, oh my God, I love it.
Like, you need to listen to this episode.
Yeah, I'm like, this episode's fire. You're gonna love it.
You keep me young. I'm like, this one's really neat.
It's really good.
So exciting that you're getting ready to officially be a mama yourself here so soon. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your journey into motherhood so far?
And of course, like everyone else, I assumed that it would be like, oh, month 1, I'm pregnant. No, it was like 8 months. And it was totally fine, but I did find that it was a bit more taxing than I realized it would be at the end, kind of at the end of it all. Like, yeah, you just don't think it's gonna like bother you as much because everything's like in a certain timing and it's meant to be, but you kind of hope and like dream this will be the month, month 1 or month 2. And of course, it's like that classic story when you kind of just like stop thinking about timeline as when it all happens. It's like, duh. So that's kind of what happened. So yeah, I found out in November. So it was like the day after my friend's wedding. And of course I had like some lovely wine. I had all sorts of delicious beverages, right? And then you like spiral for a day and then you're like, wait, it's fine. But for a minute you're like, good Lord, what have I done? What have I done? And so I very much look forward to a delicious beverage in a few short weeks. I have a blender prepared for margaritas and all sorts of delicious drinks. But no, I've really enjoyed pregnancy. I think it's awesome. I mean, at this point, I'm uncomfortable, which I think most people feel. Like I have, the swelling of the feet and legs, and just like sleeping is tricky and kind of tough, and just like waddling everywhere is kind of a new experience.
Yes.
Never done that before.
Yes.
And like we were kind of chatting about before, like my frame is, I'm like 5'3", not super petite, but like smaller frames.
Yeah.
For me to have all this extra stuff, all this extra weight, I'm like, damn, I think I'm looking forward to meeting her, and it's been a minute.
Yes. Yes, I know. And then you're like, what body is this? And if I could give any, I think, advice about that, it's just something, and I think you're good with this. I don't think you have a problem with it, but it's like trying to love your body as it is now, because it's doing such an important job. And then even after, giving yourself and your body as much grace as you can, because it's still doing an important job. And it took so many months, almost a year, to get to the point of delivery, and it's not going to snap back. That snap back thing is bullshit.
Totally.
And just try to love your body where it's at, and you will get back to a point where you're comfortable. It may just take longer than you think it will.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I like didn't even mind, because I've always been like super kind of just slender, thin, but almost to the point where I was like, man, that would be nice to have like a little bit more meat on my bones. I just always just really thin no matter what I did, which I know it's like the most annoying thing for any woman to hear. Like, I know that's like the most, oh, I'm just thin, I don't know. But it's true. Like this is true for some of us. Like we just don't really put on weight, even if we want to. And so I absolutely don't mind having extra weight on. And so for me, I'm like, okay, actually I feel pretty good in my body. And I just need to it'll be nice to kind of like get back to like a more normal, like non-waddling state.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's really important too to just take it day by day. Yeah, I mean, just maintaining a good body image, like it is so important. Like not once through this entire pregnancy have I been like, oh, I'm gross, or oh, I'm this, I'm that. Like I think it's beautiful what our bodies can do. And yeah, I look different than I'm used to seeing myself, but it's kind of part of like a transformation that we all kind of step into when we decide this is something we want to do.
I will say that you can have like the intention that you're like, this is good. Unfortunately, for most of us, I think there's a day where you're like, I think I'm going to put on those jeans that I used to wear. I think it's going to happen. And you're going to be a little weepy that day, and you're going to put the jeans on, and it's going to be a terrible idea. And you're going to go,
No,
all of
no,
this is
totally.
awful. And, that's when you have to like catch yourself to be like, all right, no. It's a stupid
No,
pants, not me.
totally.
It's fine. Those pants were for a body that is not going through this, and maybe they'll fit again someday. And if they don't, that's okay too. Like, next.
Yeah, like even I think in the very beginning, I think like December, which would have been, I don't know, like what, like 3 months in, I was still like wearing jeans and it was like not very comfortable, but I was still doing it. And then I remember the day came where I just could not wear anything tight anymore.
Yeah.
And it does kind of like bother you because you're like, what the heck? Like, I just want to like put my clothes on. So now I'm in these like little short things that are like high-waisted, and you know what? They're really comfortable, and then they're like things that fit me and dresses and stuff, and it's fine. But yeah, the pant thing is like that's a whole thing.
The dresses are where it's at. I know it's hard to be pregnant in the summer, especially as far along as you are, but the dresses are amazing.
Yeah. And almost it's not so bad because it's not really warm here yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, the pants really got me when it was like still really cold here. I was like, I can't put pants on, and I have like leggings on, but it's like too cold for leggings.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
You try to get away with like what you can. I have worn that dress a few times you sent me. That's been nice. That red one, that cranberry one. Yeah. But I tried the shorts on you sent me, and and they nope. That maybe they would have fit like 2 months ago.
Oh, just like with any women's clothing, the maternity clothing doesn't make any sense.
I was like, oh, these will fit, and I put them on, and I was like, nope. I was already too big for that.
It like depends the way you're carrying too. Like I have a longer torso, so like my belly was like longer than round with both.
Yeah, mine's like bowling ball style because of I think my height.
I know the people listening cannot see you, but I know maybe someone who knows you knows exactly what we're talking about. But you have the cutest little frame, and you're not that short. You are 5'3", like you said, but like you just
taller.
is petite. You just have this little frame. So
I seem taller than I actually am. I
think you do.
Like, I think I don't know. The doctor said 5'4", but I'm like, I think it's 5'3". My license says 5'4". I don't know if I believe that. I think I'm lying.
Yeah, you don't strike me as short. You do seem taller. Yeah, I feel like when I go stretches without seeing you, I'm like, oh yeah, you are. I remember.
You're like, oh, she's kind of tiny.
Oh my gosh,
she's actually quite small. Yeah.
Oh, stick you in my pocket. No.
I know.
So you're at the point where sleep is uncomfortable. Are you getting up multiple times a night, or are you?
Yeah, I mean, I always kind of got up in the middle of the night to pee and everything, but yeah, it's like I switched to one side and she like completely goes to that side, and I'm like, hey, listen, can we get a little balance of gravity, or like a weight distribution? Can you be on one side while I'm on one side? Like, can we strike a deal? No.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm going to be on that side, and then I switch, and then she's like, I'm going to move to that side now. So she's very festive. There's a lot of festivity going on in there.
Love it.
And it's getting to the point where it's like, before it was like, oh my God, the kicks are so cute. Now I'm like, they're kind of painful.
Yeah.
But not like, ow. It's just more like, oh, it just kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it feels like they find a new organ to punch. You're like, that's a new one.
Whoa. Yeah, exactly. And then it's like weird cramping, and every day is a new adventure. But what's cool is like, we really don't have to do anything. Our bodies know what to do, and they're working together. So you don't
have to think like, oh, I have to grow a right pinky today. Better focus on that.
Yeah, it is. It's so cool. It's so interesting how that all works out.
Yeah. It's also interesting too how they can pinpoint things. Like my former colleagues when I was teaching, she's still a friend of mine, but she had a fever at one point in her pregnancy, and then when her daughter was older and started to go to the dentist, her dentist was like, hey, she doesn't have enamel on these back teeth. Can I ask you, did you have a fever sometime between week X and week Y during your pregnancy?
No way.
He was able to narrow it down like into this very like within like a month or something. And she was like, I did. I was actually really sick.
Are you kidding?
And I was like, that would make sense. He's like, that's when the enamel is forming on the teeth. It's not a big deal. We'll put sealants on it. But it was like so interesting where it's all got a timeline and things are all happening, you know, in a certain way, at a certain time, which I guess makes sense. But to be able to be like, oh, this isn't quote unquote normal. Were you sick at this period? Yes. Okay. That explains it. No big deal.
That is so cool.
Crazy.
Stuff is happening that we don't even like
Mhm.
know about, which just is mind blowing and in and of itself. Because
Mhm.
we try to like, you know, I know we were chatting about this earlier, but like the control aspect, you know, as
Mhm.
humans, we try to control everything, and it's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, there's things that just happen, especially in pregnancy and birth, that are out of our control, and that's the point. The point is that it's this beautiful like miracle of life, and everything's working in exactly the same rhythm, and all the timing is lining up for
Mhm.
everything to happen. Mind blowing.
Yes, it's interesting. And I've had this conversation with other moms as well. And I've had my own experience of like, you know, you as a planner, like want things to happen at a certain time. And you're thinking this would be a great time if I got
Mm,
pregnant now and then the baby was born here. And then it doesn't happen that way. But then something else is going on in your life when you're like, wow, like that,
yeah,
thank God. And I, you know, with me, my dad passed 18 days before Everly was born. And we
yeah,
were trying to get pregnant. And had she been born a month sooner, had I not conceived that time, like that would have been a whole problem going through all of that
totally.
with her not on the inside. I mean, it was hard, but like it gave me some reason to like take care of myself and get through it. Like, thank God. So, I mean, even in like
Totally.
less ideal situations, you can look back and go, okay, someone's timing is better than mine, and just to embrace
It's
it.
so true. There's always something happening in the background that you might not know about until it's revealed.
Mhm.
And so yeah, trying to plan it, and it is I mean, it can cause, I've been definitely super excited and calm about birth, but at the same time a little nervous because it feels like there's that unknown factor. But then there's also that like transformation factor where you're like, can I do it? Or, you know, what if I fail? Or, I mean, I don't know. It's just like normal with anything. And on the other side of all that, as we all know, because that happens every time with anything, you end up surprising yourself with
Mhm.
how much you're, just how capable you are, and
Mhm.
how much you can come through for yourself. Like
Mhm.
it's beyond the fear is so much abundance and
Oh, so good.
clarity, right? Mm,
Oh, so
mm,
good. I
gets you.
so juicy. Yeah, that's amazing. I just like want to put a pin in that and savor it for a minute. But can we circle back to the fear? You said you fear that you might fail. What in your mind right now is failure? Like what does that look like?
Well, so I've been doing a lot of reading and, you know, classes and things like that, just on, and just self introspection too, of, you know, I really would like to experience birth. Um, I would like to experience it unmedicated. And I know that's kind of it's funny because it's almost like an unpopular opinion, but then it's like not, because there's so many on both women on both sides who are like either for or against. But then of course there's the reality of it, which is everyone needs to do what's best for themselves, and like
Mhm.
what they feel strongly for, you know what I mean? Like that's anything in life. You shouldn't be saying, oh, this is the right way, this is the wrong way. But I really, for myself, I think our bodies were absolutely built to birth. And I think even if we don't do anything, that baby's still coming.
Mhm.
And uh, like it's so multifaceted. But so yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm open, of course. I don't want to put any, you know, constraints, but I'm 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 nervous because I've never done it before. It's the
Sure.
unknown, that can I do it? And I know deep down, like in my soul. I don't, whatever you,
Yeah,
you know,
no, it
put
is.
it, but right?
It's your ego that is telling you that
Yes,
you have, you know, there's
exactly.
doubt and that maybe you can't.
Exactly. Like I know in the fiber of my being, I can do it. But I think, yeah, it's like my, yeah, ego or my anything just coming out and being like, but what if you can't? What if you can't do it? And that wouldn't be, I, I wouldn't, that wouldn't be a failure. It's
Mhm.
just easy to not believe in yourself.
Of course,
It's so
with
easy to be like,
anything.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Mhm.
like, and it's hard. It is hard to believe in yourself because then you're like kind of putting that pressure and expectation, but it shouldn't be like that.
Mhm.
I think I'm a little bit fearful of what if it's too hard, but uh but just because something's hard doesn't mean it's bad.
Of course.
You know, hard doesn't mean horrible and awful, and hard just means hard. It it it
Right.
it doesn't mean like it didn't work or you're not capable and you didn't do it. It just means it wasn't like a freaking walk in the park. You know, it wasn't a
Right.
piece of cake.
But look how many hard things you've already been through.
Exactly. And that's why I feel that drive
Mhm.
because I feel that it will be transformative for me. Like I really feel like I spent, you know, you always you think about it, if you want kids someday, you think, what will it be like? How will I be during childbirth? You know, you kind of go through that little like fear cycle of it. And then you kind of find resolve and you're like, oh, I'll figure it out. And then you kind of just forget about it because it's not right in your face, staring you in the face, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Some women tear other women down like for their birth preferences. It's like,
Yes.
hey, that's your story.
Right.
That's great. Good for you. You get to have that, whether it was good or bad, that's your thing. But you know what? Don't put that on someone else. That's
Right.
not their experience.
Right.
And you should want the most positive experience. You were more in the moment, or do you feel like you were in the moment for both times?
They were both very different. With Emerson's, I was just trying to get through it, and I didn't realize how much I was going to have to labor at home before I could get to the hospital to get the
Okay.
epidural, because I
Got
started,
it.
you know, very, very early labor that morning, and then I didn't get the epidural until like midnight, and it really picked up
Right.
8 or 9, and I had like 3 or 4 very, very uncomfortable hours at home with her.
Mm.
And I was very happy to get the epidural because I was in a lot of pain. With Everly, I definitely was more present and while I was at home. And then I hit that transition phase because I remember hearing about it in the birth class, and Ryan was like getting the car ready at the last minute, like, and I was like, we gotta go. And I remember sitting on the bed and I fell asleep. I was sitting and I fell asleep, but nodded off between contractions. And he came back in and I was like, we're in trouble. Like, we
You're like, we
waited
need to
too
go
long.
now.
Like, but I
So
was
were you?
very in the know of where I was in the process. Although I
Mhm.
was still surprised when I got to the hospital and they were like, oh, it's go time. It's go time. But I was
Were
much
you
more in
in?
tune with what was happening.
Yeah, that's a good point because it's like you're totally in your body at that point. You're not any sensation being cut off. So you're like, okay. But do you think that you transitioned at home?
I
Oh,
do.
I didn't know that. I just
Mhm.
assumed you were at the hospital already
I think
with it
I
really.
did. I think.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God. That's wild.
yeah, when I got to the hospital, I was at least an 8. I think I blacked out. As soon as I put it together that I was not going to be medicated for this
Oh my
childbirth, I think
God.
I blacked out. It's all downhill from there.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's so funny.
So
Well,
yeah, because the next day they were like, "Oh, you're the one. Oh yeah, okay, we heard about you. Good thing your water didn't break before you got here. You would have had that baby in the car." I was like,
you're like,
"No,
thank you.
yeah,
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 it's so cool just reading, just from reading and listening and things like that with labor is, yeah, they say like it's sort of manageable until transition, and then at transition you're like, I can't do this anymore. But it's so interesting because you're almost there, so
I
it's
think I
like
was in the
when you
car.
reach your
When that was
limit,
happening.
right?
Yeah,
And you're like,
yeah,
I can't do this. But then it's crazy because it's like you think your body's going to give up, but your mind's going to give up before your body gives up, right? With anything. But it's crazy because then usually the baby's born very shortly after. You said like within 30 minutes she was here.
Yeah, it's kind of blending together now. Like I said, I remember falling asleep during like those contractions, like at home, just for a few minutes before we left, and then getting to the hospital, and it was kind of a blur, and I thought I was going to keel over from my pain. Now, here's my thing, Mary. You're talking to a woman who was never planning on having a natural childbirth. So I didn't have my head in the game. I was not going in it with strategies and things and this is not to scare you. I just wasn't there. I was like, I'm going to the hospital. They're going to stick a needle in my back and I'm going to be happy. I'm going to, just skate through it. But yes, I think if you are doing the prep work and laying the groundwork and prepared with strategies for you and for your husband to be a support partner, I think you're going to be fine. I was not prepared. It was like dropping into like a final of a class and never having shown up for a lecture,
Yeah. And you're just like, oh, what? Well, and that's so interesting that you say that, because I have wondered, because not like you're in your situation, sometimes you can't get the epidural at all, or it doesn't work.
Right.
My mom and one of her, my mom did natural, except for, I believe, my little brother. Well, not natural, because of course it's all natural, but like did the epidural or did non-epidural for all of her. But I believe she did for my little brother, and she said it like didn't work. She'd already had not like unmedicated before, so she was like, it's fine. But she thought, oh sure, fourth kid, all and she was like, it didn't freaking work. So sometimes it won't work. And so I was wondering how that would be for, because of course, you can prep as much as you want and there's still going to be curveballs, but I am glad that I have some prep work. But I have been curious, what happens if there's no prep work and you're maybe just not, your mind's not in the, your head's not in the game.
You're me.
I just imagine that would be a little bit like, I'm already nervous enough. I imagine that would be even more nerve-wracking.
For me, it was like, once I realized that I was too late to get an epidural, I panicked. Whereas if that was my game plan all along and I was more present in my body and I was like, okay, now or I had someone to, my husband to coach me, like, here's what we're going to do next or whatever. Yeah. But I went from, oh my gosh, I got here very late. I'm very far. I don't know how much farther I have left. It's kind of hurt already. And I don't like, and then I was scared because I wasn't prepared. I was very scared. I was not scared to have another epidural birth, but at the 11th hour to face a natural birth that I was not planning on having, it scared me. So I was totally in my head, not in my body. And I was just like, get her out now. Like that's where I went. And I think I was doing more forcing than allowing. So I mean, and she came out and everything was fine. But I think had I been in the headspace of going through it naturally and then not being so scared and then just letting my body do its work instead of trying to like just get the baby out because I wanted it to be over, I think it would have been a different experience.
I think, and it's so tricky because it's like that is the ideal, but of course we're always gonna like sort of get in our head. Like I was just last night with getting in my head, but what if I can't do it, this and that, you know what I'm saying? Like, but if we can just drop in, surrender. I know it's so unnatural, it feels wrong because you're like, okay, well, I'm not very comfortable right now. Why would I like just surrender and trust that my body knows what it's doing? But it does. And I think I know I'll have to keep that in mind, and Seth will have to remind me, because I guarantee you there will be multiple times I will kind of just retreat to my head. And then
I think given his background though, he'll be good at staying in the zone.
He'll be great. He'll be great. It's just exactly. It's just like, I think I lost my train of thought.
Well, look, she's coming out one way or another. There's only a couple avenues she can take. And at the end of the day, like, as long as she arrives, you're good. And whatever is going to be is going to be. And it's, there are women who, like my other Mary, who had like this marathon labor that went on. I think she went to the hospital Sunday, and we kept like texting her husband for updates because we were very close. And then it was like Wednesday, I think, before their daughter was born.
Oh
It
my
was like, oh
God.
my gosh, she was induced. So that
Okay.
part, took a while, but
Yeah.
finally at the end, because she wanted to try natural and she was doing good for so
Mhm.
long, and she was just so exhausted that she
Oh,
had to get an epidural.
exactly.
Yeah. So, but
And
there's no shame
heard
in
that
it,
too.
like,
No, and I've heard that too, that there's like, if it's like a marathon labor and the mom just wants to, honestly just like rest and sleep.
yeah.
There's so many different reasons, and it's cool to just kind of go with the flow, which doesn't feel natural for me in that setting, because it's like, your physical discomfort, so you're like, why would I go with the flow right now?
Yeah.
But it's such a good mental barrier to get over.
Yeah.
Like that's why I'm excited and nervous, but mostly excited, because I think and also the more you kind of have that fear, I've been learning about this like fear, pain, tension cycle, where like you're afraid, ooh, that leads to pain, you're not releasing the oxytocin that you need to release, because you know what I'm saying? It's like all this
Yes.
cool stuff that your brain does, versus when you're like releasing dopamine and oxytocin from like really just dropping in and surrendering.
Yes.
And if you're fighting against it, you're fighting against what's happening.
Yes.
You're the pain cycle's just continuing, and you just it keeps getting worse. And like we're saying, like the panic sets in. That is totally natural. Like,
Yeah.
imagine you're scuba diving, right? And then like I don't scuba dive, but but like people do, Seth used to scuba dive. My mom told me a story once, like, because she used to scuba dive with my dad, and like if you can't panic and get in your head, because you'll start like getting confused, and like there's so many stories out there of like somebody taking their oxygen source because they're panicking, and then it's kind of like that. It's like you're discombobulating your, and then everything kind of starts falling apart, and you just gotta zip yourself back up into like a pretty little package. What is that we used to say, the pink bubble? Remember?
Oh,
We'd
pink
go
bubble, like Linda the Good Witch in your
yeah
pink bubble. Yeah.
yeah
Yes. That'll be so good for you. Okay. So a couple things that was super funny. First, when you were talking about scuba diving, like you're preparing to go scuba diving, like you're taking your certification course right now. Me, on the other hand, I thought I was just going to go snorkeling along the beach. And next thing I know, I end up on the boat and I get thrown over to scuba dive. Like that was my,
yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
You're like, we're going snorkeling, right? Like I'm putting flippers on and I'm going to be on the surface of the water, right? And they're like, no, you're going scuba diving today.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. And then about the like being in the water, and I was thinking this before, but it just lines up so beautifully. Like if you can just drop into the motion of it, because those contractions do eventually get more rhythmic. In the beginning, they're kind of all over the place. And I think that kind of turned on that fear pain cycle for me, because it was like, here's one, here's another. Are they too close? Should we have left? Now they're spacing out, because there's the whole when do I go to the hospital thing, but they do get to a point where you can kind of, predict when the next one's coming, because they're getting more into a rhythm. And if you can just kind of ride that wave through it. Yeah.
That's good advice. Cause I have been, I'm like, oh, what will it be like in the beginning? This and that. And, if Seth's at on shift, I'm like, oh, and he's like, it's okay. Like I'll rush home, 20 minutes away. Yeah. It's like reminding yourself that it will even out and make more sense. And like anything, it's going to be kind of messy in the beginning. It'll be like, oh, what's happening?
I mean, literally and figuratively messy in the beginning.
Yeah.
But you're going to come out on the other side and you're going to be like, yes. I mean, regardless, even after having Emerson medicated, I was like, I grew a baby and now it's outside of my body. Like, look at this.
It's so cool. I know. It's like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And we spend all this time like incubating them, and then they're here
On the outside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so
There is, I felt like for us, like an introductory period. I remember, I mean, with Emerson, I was like, whoa, but with Everly, she was screaming at me the second day in the hospital. And I was like, it's okay. Like, you know me, but you don't like know me. Like, we're
yeah,
just getting
yeah,
reacquainted. Like, it's okay, you know? And it's like, you're not doing anything wrong. It's just like, it's a lot for them, you know?
yeah.
Even if your instincts are all kicking in, they're like, "Ah!"
It's so weird to think about that they like, yeah, they like exactly like they know us, but they don't.
It's like meeting a pen pal. Do you remember pen pals?
Yeah.
Did you ever have a pen pal and then meet a pen pal?
I don't, gosh, I don't think so. No.
Our elementary schools like across town had pen pals when I was
Oh
like
my,
in 5th grade, and like we would send like 10 letters, and then at the end of the year we would come to each other's schools and meet, and it was very like, whoa.
you're like, I
I
know
know everything
you.
about you, but this is weird.
That's so funny. That's such a good way to put it, like a
Yeah.
pen pal.
Like a pen pal. They're sending you
Your
little messages
baby,
from the inside and you're talking to
your
them from the
baby pen
outside.
pal.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're not vocally communicating. You're just like, okay, she really likes Mexican food. Got it. You
Noted.
know?
Noted.
Okay. Noted.
Can we like jump forward a little bit since
Yeah.
you're a new planner? I resonate with that.
Yeah.
Have you made any plans of what life is going to look like after she gets here and how you're going to kind of transition? I know it's a part we don't think about a whole lot, but it's something that I like
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
looking back like am focused on because we're all like the baby's here. It's all about the baby.
No,
But
I think that's so like important for people to think about because I think it's so easy to just get stuck on the birth and then she's here, you know, baby's here, and then you don't really consider life, that life goes on. I mean, of course it's like fuller and richer and I mean, oh wow, this is amazing. But life does continue, you know, it's like,
yeah.
and so kind of maintaining a little bit of like normalcy of like what you're used to. I think, well, so I'll be off work for 12 weeks. So it'll be 6 weeks paid, 6 weeks unpaid. And so with Seth, with this firefighter schedule, they actually get really good paternity leave. So they get 4 to 5 months or something like that. It's really nice. And he
4
can
to
spread
5
it.
months.
Yeah.
Please
And he can like
elaborate.
spread it out. Yeah.
Okay.
They can like spread it out and kind of, so because he works on 24-hour shifts.
Okay.
So he would do his regular schedule until I go back in October. Then he would try to do night shifts until January.
Okay.
And then at that point, because I work from home, I think whenever the days he's not home, which would only be like 2 days a week, I think we'd probably just get like a little part-time help in the house and while I work and kind of swing it that way. But it's really actually the firefighter schedule is really nice because, you know, half of his shift is nighttime. So of course I'll be alone for sometimes, but it's not like a traditional Monday through Friday where he's just like gone and I have no help. Like, I mean, he really will be home a lot.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
You touched on the working part, but I mean, you know,
Yeah. I think, I mean, we have such a strong group of friends here that really do feel like our family, and they're so excited. Like it's just everything is falling into place, and it doesn't feel like, I don't know, we don't feel this like scarcity around it of like, oh, we're having a baby, that means like that's it. We can't go and do things anymore. Like we're so excited to like have a richer, fuller, more abundant life because of it. Like we don't see it that way.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to, of course, life will change. Life should change, you know. Why would you want it to stay? Even just like our marriage, the last 5 years, like everything is just so different and better.
Yeah.
And richer than it was. You know, it's like it wasn't like it was ever, nothing's ever bad. It's just that you're like, wow, we're so much, we're so different now. We've really grown together. And so it's just like we love our life and we're so excited to add her in it.
Yeah.
And it, I know a lot of people, they struggle with that, with identity and sort of, but I know you and I talk about this all the time. It's really important to me and to Seth, it's really important for us to maintain who we are and add in parents as another check mark on our identity. Not our entire identity is mom and dad. I just don't know if that's really that helpful. Like, why would you wake up one day and decide you're a totally different person? You wouldn't.
Right.
That's not natural.
Right. Well, I think that's good that you've got a good group. I think that's going to help. And if they're excited for her to be part of it, and then you can just kind of, especially when they're little, you can bring them along, and it helps you maintain, the sense of kind of who you, I don't want to say were, but like the before, the pre-baby version. I would say soak that up as much as you can, because once they start moving, it gets a little more challenging to incorporate them into things. You're like,
exactly,
when they're little and you can just put them in a carrier or whatever, and they just sleep most of the time. Like, yes,
exactly. And it's like, there will always be that next challenging stage. Right. And so you kind of, it's like, you always think the stage you're in is like the most challenging. Right. And then you go to the next stage and like, oh, actually it wasn't that, it was this stage. So I think just staying open to, like, what you resist persists. So if you're resisting this change, which is totally natural, it's like in Wayne's World when they're like, we fear change. I don't know if you remember that line, but I always joke about that in my mind.
No, but I'll take your word for it.
It's just like we as people, like we fear change, it's like, we're like, no, anything different. No. But then usually when that change happens, we're like, oh my God, it's much better. It's so much better. And I didn't lose who I was because of it. In fact, I shed parts that I didn't need anymore and that weren't serving me.
We've talked about that before, where like you just set things down because you just don't have the capacity for them anymore, and it's like not even the important stuff. You're just like, why was I carrying that around? Like that was just kind of a pain in my butt, and I was carrying it with me for no reason, and now I've set it down and I feel so much better. It's not that big of a deal. I will say, from like doing it twice now, and we've said this about ourselves both times, like, oh, we should have taken the baby out more when they were littler, and it was easier. It was a little harder with Everly because it was like we were still in COVID. It was scary, and it was winter.
It was cold as all get out.
So we had to be very choosy about the ways in which we took her out of the house. But once they're able to move and shake a little bit, then it gets a little more tricky to integrate them into those things. And those are the times when you're like, oh, nap time is at this time. Like, we're going to stay home during nap time. We'll catch you after, because we need the, 2 hours of them being contained and not getting into everything.
Exactly. And so it's almost like like when you're at that point where you're like, oh, let's go out, then you feel like, oh, well, that's harder. It's just, it's just like you said, soaking it up while you can, while it's available. And then, okay, there might be a couple seasons of like, okay, that's not going to work out. We'll catch you after. We'll catch you later. No big deal. But at least like embracing the messy. It's okay. It's okay. It's fine.
And every aspect, or, like somebody's like, can I come over and help you with something? Or can we come see you? And in your heart of hearts, it would be so much easier if they just came over and brought you dinner or made dinner or whatever for that night. Like, that would be best case scenario for you and your husband and your baby. But you're like, oh no, like, I didn't clean my house because I haven't slept through the night in a week, like, also embracing the messy in that way, because people don't actually give a shit. Like, they don't care, and just allow people to embrace you in the ways that they can to help and uplift you, as long as it's not in a way that is out of alignment for you, if that makes sense.
Totally. I mean, how many times have you had somebody come over your house and you're like, oh, sorry for the clothes on my bed. Sorry for and they're like, what? Like, nobody cares. Like, it's like this weird thing we all have where we have to like apologize for the state of our house for some reason. And it's like, literally nobody cares. They're not paying attention that closely. And I feel like, just allowing because a lot of times people want to be your friends, people love you, they want to be involved, they want to, you know,
Yeah.
it's fun. And it doesn't need to be this type A thing of like, oh, well, we can't go to that event until like we know she won't like, have a poop explosion. It's like, come on.
There may be a poop explosion. You just bring in
Yeah.
clothes and diapers. I will say, throw an extra t-shirt. We would keep like a men's, like Ryan's, like black t-shirt, in the diaper bag that like either one of us could wear in case there was a poop explosion and one of you caught it, on your clothing. So you're like, it's good.
I love
I
that.
keep my clothes. It's fine. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Just like totally not being, having this like weird type A ego about it, because it's like, why? Like, life is happening now.
Yeah.
You want to experience the joy and the funny parts of having a baby. Well, here it is. It's being presented to you.
Yeah.
Might as well embrace it and
rolling with it.
have fun with it. Yeah.
Because babies don't give a crap about your plan. They're going to do what they want to do. Even if like the last 6 days, this has been their schedule, day 7, when you make a plan, they're going to do something else. Yeah.
Yeah. They give 0. They're like, nope. Actually, we're doing this today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something about Everly. I bet she's 16 months now, and I've been really hesitant to take her to things because I feel like she's kind of a lot. She has a big personality and she doesn't care who knows it, which is a little different from our first experience with Emerson. But Emerson's dance recital was on Saturday, and I was like, Ryan,
her little outfit killed me.
Like, somebody needs to be prepared to take this baby if this goes south. And she was good. I mean, for a 16-month-old, like, I think she let out maybe 2 like screams. But for a kid's recital that goes on for like 2.5 hours, like, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. And then when she got antsy, I wasn't a jerk. I got up and removed her from the auditorium. And you just roll with it. You know what I mean? People are less concerned than you think they are. And if they're going to be a butthole about a baby crying, like, they're a butthole. It's not any reflection on you.
No. And it's like it will pass. It too shall pass. Like, the baby will stop crying. Everything will be fine. Like, it doesn't need to, the level of stress parents, and of course I'm not a parent yet, but the level of stress parents put on themselves is like, so to have this like perfect experience in public or with their friends or with their family, it's like, it's okay, really. People just want to be involved, and they want to see sometimes it's more fun for things to be more realistic and not so like curated and like, we have this perfect routine. It's like, okay, we have a routine, and like literally everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, and it's kind of funny. And then had to do all this stuff, and now we're exhausted. And
I think if you can keep your sense of humor, like,
I think we're just, the way Seth and I are, we're a very good team. And I mean, we really think you gotta have fun. You gotta, because it's so ridiculous, sometimes what life throws at you. And like, one night, our big dog Boone, did I told you the poop story?
Yeah, you told me the poop story, because I remember being like, this is perfect training.
Good Lord. It was so bad. It was like the poor thing, he got his teeth cleaned, and I guess anesthesia just totally messed with his stomach. And we came home, and I don't even know how to explain it. It was like, oh God, he was covered, and the poor thing, we just were like shocked. We didn't expect it to be that bad. And so imagine trying to wash poop off a 70-pound hound dog who is afraid of bathtubs, right? So that's fine. Okay. So we like have these like stupid gloves on. Seth just, has like little gloves from like his old days on the ambulance or whatever. So he had these like rubber gloves.
You might still want those with diapers too. Keep it separate.
I know. Yeah, Seth is like still never changed a diaper in his life. So I'm like, cannot wait for his first experience.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because he's a firefighter. So he sees like everything under the sun you've ever imagined, the most gnarliest things. But he's like, I've never changed a diaper. I'm like, okay.
Sidebar, the first time he like gags with like the tears in the eyes, let me know, because I will have a nice struggle over that. Like, I'm sure he's seen some things, but there are some of those diapers that are like, oh
yeah, right. I know. That's what's so funny is like, he's, you can just imagine in your mind's eye the sorts of things he smelled and seen at work. And he also said that he's like, I don't know, man. I don't know, baby poop. So it's just funny.
So back to your buddy Boone and having to clean up the poop explosion. And
so we went to the, it was like February. So we went to the garage and it was like 20 degrees out. Excellent weather for this. Oh, it was like 11:30 at night too. Excellent. Luckily we kind of closed our garage door and we have like this like warm water setting, I guess, on our outdoor faucets. That's great, except our hose was frozen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we rush over to our neighbors and we're like, SOS.
At 11:30 at night.
Yeah. And like, of course, we're all just hanging out. So they just like dropped us off and we're like, wait, don't go to bed. Emergency. Boone is covered in poop. And so we're just like scrubbing him down. I think I shampooed him like twice. It was just it was like midnight by the time we got done. And we both looked at each other. Oh, and there was like a mat by the door that was just all sorts of ruined. And we didn't even like speak words. We just grabbed it and we threw it right in the dumpster. We were like, thank you, mat, doormat, but this is not salvageable. And the next day we were laughing because we were like, we didn't even communicate. We just like literally like I rolled it up and handed it to him and he delivered it to the trash.
That's so excellent.
No words.
That is going to be so helpful that you guys already have that. Like,
yeah, we already have that. Like, let's just speak in our minds about like what. Yeah. So we were like, you know what, this is good training because when our baby is just a full-on disaster, putting our little tiny baby and getting them cleaned up is going to be a lot simpler than a 70-pound dog that refuses in the garage that refuses to go in the bathtub. So we kind of saw that as like we're like, okay,
it will be easier than that, but it's still a whole thing for sure.
Right. Like, of course, that's just like such a simplistic thing because there's so many different layers to that. But yeah, Seth always says, he's like, look, if I can wake up in the middle of the night for people I don't know, I can wake up in the middle of the night for like our kid.
I cannot wait. Way to look at it. Yeah, we're gonna do another episode after you have this baby and you get settled. Mm-hmm. But like, I cannot wait to hear like how he reacts to hearing the baby cry. Like, is he gonna launch out of bed, or is he gonna just sleep right through it, or do you need to get whatever alarm bell system that they have at the firehouse to
I know it's like so dramatic because not only is he a career firefighter, but at home he's a volunteer firefighter for our area. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because in all of his free time, he can why not
naturally
also be a volunteer firefighter, right? When you already do it for your job. But like, we're near the parkway, so if people sometimes try to drive off the parkway or get stuck.
Like the lady in the sweater.
Yes, the lady in the sweater who was quote unquote going to get groceries, but instead she drove off the Blue Ridge Parkway.
She's okay, which is why
she's okay.
Yeah.
She made it.
It was not her time. It was not her time.
It was quite bizarre. Stuff like that. So he'll like the tones will go off in our house, and the radios. Isn't that excellent? Yeah. So and like on the weekend, he turns it off for weeknights, but on the weekends, he's like, okay, I'm turning the tones on. So like the other night, weekend night, it's like I wake up 3 times, like somebody's having chest pains in Weaverville or something like that, So he'll go, if it's like a fire or like a local call, but I know it's gonna be
I adore Seth. I think he is like amazing, but y'all may need to figure out another system for that because when you are tired and you hear
I think he's gonna turn it off
like 2 times over, like
I think he's gonna turn it off. I think for sure.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna have to.
For his volunteer stuff. Of course he'll show up for his job when he's on duty.
Yeah, different
extra stuff. He's like, probably going to love sleeping at work because his sleep will be probably less interrupted than with the baby.
Yeah, you know what? That's it. We can cover that on the next pod. We can be like, is his sleep better at home or at work?
Yes.
Because he's still, he'll have nights where he runs all night. Yes. What I want to know the tea. Is he going to be?
Here's a bar chart. Like, could you fill in all the hours of consecutive sleep you got each night for each location? Yeah. This is interesting. Interesting.
I feel like I couldn't imagine. I mean, he literally, his sleep is interrupted like so much and he's able to fall back asleep. But imagine like, I mean, sometimes they see some gnarly stuff in the middle of the night and then you're like, you just go back to bed. You just kind of go.
Just saw something really terrible. Sweet dreams.
Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of like you got to be a certain personality or you got to have certain, like, I don't know, to be in it's very interesting. I always find it very interesting. You got to be a certain type of person.
I think it might be a good opportunity for you though. And I have an idea of what your feeding strategy might be. I don't know. We don't have to get into it if you don't want to, but
No,
maybe
I'm open,
maybe pump and have a bottle available so that if he's ready to jump, then he can jump
totally.
And you can sleep a little bit.
No, that's totally a good point. Like that's what I'm super thankful for because it's not like going to be this new thing for him to like get woken up all night. I mean, that's literally his job. It's like getting a fire truck and like at 3 a.m. and be like, what, huh? Like that's just part of it. So for him, what'd you say?
I just can't imagine. I can't imagine. Like, I had a hard enough time like getting from one, place to the other and getting the things that you need in between. For those who don't do direct feeding, how would I get in a truck and go deliver first aid to somebody?
Exactly. Like you have to, you were just sleeping and then all of a sudden you have to like do your job to your best ability. I mean, that's pretty
right. Put all the gear on correctly for your own safety. Yeah. And then,
Right. Yeah. And so I think that it'll be a perfect situation to have just the little walk, the stumble to the kitchen.
And that's where we paused for this week. We had some technical difficulties that decided that this is where this part of the conversation would end, so pause we must. Here are a few of my favorite morsels from this conversation, and although they were in reference to labor, delivery, and having a baby, I believe they can apply to many areas beyond parenthood. Number 1, hard just means hard. It doesn't have to mean that something is bad or negative. 2, embrace and surrender. 3, beyond fear is so much abundance. 4, the idea of allowing versus forcing. And 5, it's not that deep. Let those sink in for a moment. Where in your life could one of those hold meaning for you today? Thanks for joining me today. You can catch part 2 of this conversation next time. Until then, come hang out with me on socials at Having a Mom Moment on Instagram and Facebook. And if you're interested in sharing your own motherhood experience or share knowledge on a topic that's helpful for moms, I would love to connect. Go ahead and fill out that guest application form in the show notes and we can start planning your episode. In case no one has told you today, you are amazing, you are loved, and I am so proud of the woman that you are. Until next time, bye.